Hey everybody, welcome back. Did you miss me? Did you miss me last week? Last week we didn't do a Tuesday Tech Talk video. I was completely covered up with trying to get some big open baffled line sources finished up for a customer up in Indiana. Had lots of orders I had to get out. I've still got a pile of stuff lined up here I've got to get shipped out to New Zealand. And it was just one of those weeks, and I knew Ron was gone to Rocky Mountain Audio Fest and was completely covered up with that, and I didn't want to hit him with, oh yeah, edit one more video for me to get Tuesday Tech Talk ready. We just, because of the show and everything, just decided to skip last week. So we're back, and I have an interesting subject for everybody. I hope this is one you can really dig into. Maybe we'll spend some time on it. The subject today is about upgrading speakers. And it's one of those subjects where people I know will say, well, you shouldn't mess with what the original designer's done with the speaker. You know, they've already got it the way they want it. It's already perfect. No. For a number of reasons, no. Even our own products, we offer a lot of our kits. We offer a base level kit. Then we offer upgrades that you can implement to those kits to take them to multiple levels above where they can be from just the base model. And you leave a designer with his own product long enough, he'll tweak it and come up with it. There's always ways to make things better, always ways to make improvements. And we've been into hundreds of speakers that are sent to us, either commercial speakers or customer speakers, DIY efforts that they've come up with that they'll send to us and want to know what we can do with it. So we're into speakers all the time. And a lot of those speakers are built to price points. You know, there's a certain amount of money that they have to spend on a speaker, and with the markups to the dealers and things like that, they may have a limited amount of money to spend on the internals. So those internals can always be improved, can always be upgraded. Even some of the best speakers out there, there's always ways of improvements. And let's take a look at some. Here's some examples of some parts you might commonly see on your speaker. If you've got a binding post cup like this on the back of your speaker with ferromagnetic nuts and screws and brass connectors, this can be upgraded. There's a lot of improvement to be had by upgrading those connections. If you've got electrolytic capacitors in there, or even inexpensive polycaps, I mean, there's room for a lot of improvements. Here's one we took out of a speaker. It's an iron core inductor that was on a woofer circuit in what we call a dental floss gauge, a tiny little speaker wire. This is another one. It was at least an air core inductor, also dental floss gauge, 22 gauge wire, something like that. This stuff is stuff we see in speakers all the time, especially anything that's built to a price point. So can they be upgraded? You betcha they can be upgraded. There's a lot of improvements to be had. And here's some pictures of some speakers that we've had open. If you see your entire crossover mounted on the back of your binding post cup the size of a business card, yeah, it can be upgraded, like this one right here. And here's another one that was a point-to-point wired crossover that still used budget quality parts and connectors and wire, and the whole thing looked like a rat's nest. How about this one? Yeah, it can be that bad. We see it all the time from one end of the spectrum to another. But sometimes a speaker is really well engineered. They built it to a price point, but they did their homework, they did good engineering on it. For an example, some of the ELAC models. I've had some of the ELAC stuff in here. Andrew Jones did a fantastic job designing those product lines, and they're built to a price point. So it's a perfect platform for a lot of the tweakers and guys out there that want to have fun with this stuff. They want to see how far they can take it. Go in and change the capacitor on the tweeter circuit to a higher quality cap. Put a higher quality resistor in there. Line it with some no-res to reduce cabinet resonances. Change the binding post cup on the back to some tube connectors. Upgrade the wiring. There's those speakers that are so well designed, they're perfect platforms to go in and do stuff to them and have fun with them that the original designer couldn't do, because they're trying to produce the best speaker that they can produce at a $450 price point or a $350 price point, which is tough. It's tough to really do that. When you have an unlimited budget and price is no object, you can just go in and use the best of everything you can get your hands on, and then in the end total it all up and say, this is what it cost, here's the dealer margin, here's our markup, the retail price is now this. You know, that's easy to produce a high-end speaker, and it's easy to get great sound if it's well engineered and you have no budget. But when you have a limited budget and you're trying to do everything within those means and do a good job with it, that's where rubber meets the road right there. That's where a lot of the good engineers really have a task in front of them. And I've had quite a few of those that I've done where it's been budget level price points, and I've had to go in and design something to meet a price point. I've been successful doing that. We've had products that have done really well in the marketplace, won a lot of awards, Budget Speaker of the Year awards, Product of the Year award, things like that, where they've done really well. So it can be done, and there's good stuff out there. There's good platforms for speakers that can be upgraded. And one of the reasons we see so many speakers and so much stuff gets sent to us is we offer free measuring and testing services. We've done that for years. You send us your speakers, we'll completely test and measure everything. We'll give you a printout of all the measurements, and we'll give you some feedback and evaluation and recommendations as to what can be done to it and what you can do and what your options are, you know, whether it's feasible to do something or not. And these are sometimes commercial speakers that are sent to us, sometimes they're DIY projects, sometimes companies bring us product and they say, look, we have a product, we'd like to take it to another level. One of those was Usher Audio. The North American importers brought us the Tiny Dancer. It's a great little speaker. The parts quality was, kind of budget level. The driver quality was really good. The cabinet construction was really nice, beautiful work, but there was a lot of room for improvement. So they said, what can you do with these? I said, let me have them. And redesign the whole crossover, improve the phase relationship of the drivers, push the crossover point down a little lower, improve the vertical and horizontal off axis, and went in with much higher quality parts. I mean, this is an example of one of the Usher crossovers from one of the other models. It's Chinese inductors, probably recycled copper. They did use polycaps. Sand cast resistors, these are really bad. These are like the 12-cent resistors on a generic crossover board with PVC jacketed wire that you normally see in car audio or something. It was bad. There was a lot of room for improvement. So design a new network, mostly all sonic caps, ERC polycaps in some of the other spots, all air core inductors, high purity copper, Mills resistors, and JPS Labs internal wire. Those things sounded phenomenal afterwards. So they sent those to all the magazines. They won every award at every magazine, you name it. Those things sounded fantastic, and they just needed a little help. They needed to be taken to another level. That's stuff that's really feasible. That's stuff that people can do. So people send us product. That's the first thing that I have to tell people. People say, oh, can you upgrade these speakers? Yeah. Can you design a new network for them? Sure. They say, here are my drivers. Can you design a network? As if I'm just going to design something and send it to them. We can't design based on electrical parameters. You know, you're designing based on electrical parameters, forget it. You'll be lucky to even get into the ballpark. These things have to be designed based on the acoustic output of the drivers. That doesn't mean we can just look at a frequency response curve that the manufacturers produce and say, well, this is the frequency response we're going from. No, no. The frequency response of those drivers has everything to do with how they're loaded, the size of the baffle, the cabinet. All of that comes into play to determine the output of the speaker, the output of each driver. And we have to look at the time alignment of each driver, the phase relationship, and how they're going to measure vertically and horizontally off axis. We have to look at a whole bunch of things to design a network. So If you're wanting us to do that for you, no problem. Send us the speaker. We have to have it here to do measuring and testing. And when we do something that, that somebody sent us a speaker, we do a complete workup on it and we say, here are your options. There's usually what we call 3 levels of options that we can do to a speaker. One would be what I call a level 1 mod. That means we measure and test the whole speaker. It looks good. The designers did a good job. We don't see any problems. There's no stored energy issues, no breakup, no ringing. The frequency response is relatively smooth. They don't see any abnormalities in impedance curves. They did a good job. An example would be one that was sent to us that was brought to us. It was an Odyssey speaker, and I want to say it was called the Kismet or something like that. Klaus did a good job with that speaker, plus or minus 2.5 dB. No issues with it really at all. Off axis looked good, impedance was good, spectral decay was clean. So what do we recommend to the customer? Could I go in and redesign the whole crossover, push the crossover point down a little lower, shift phase on the drivers a little bit, use a little steeper slope, make the frequency response a little smoother, a little more accurate? Yeah, I could have done a lot of that stuff. But it was already really good. It was already pretty solid, and the parts quality was pretty good. Could some of it been improved? Yeah, but you have to look at the cost of the speaker, the cost of the upgrades, and think, is it worth it? In this case, I tell the customer, you could replace the binding post with some tube connectors. You could add no-res to the cabinet to control cabinet resonances a little bit, and that would improve the tightness of the bass and the lower vocals. But I wouldn't really go in and redesign this speaker. Klaus did a good job with it. Keep it. And that particular customer decided rather than to even do anything with it, he would build one of our higher end kits instead and put his money there. Good decision. So not every time we get a hold of something do we say, oh, this is junk. A lot of times it is. A lot of times we see a lot of production stuff. They have issues. There's no question about it. But sometimes it is good. And if it's good, I'll tell you if it's good. If it's bad, I'll tell you if it's bad. Level 2 mods that we offer. Level 2 mods, we can do that where we'll go in and measure and test everything. We'll map out the crossover and say, here are the parts involved. And instead of, for instance, a good poly cap that may be in the path, let's go in and put some sonic caps in there. Let's put some Mills resistors in there. Let's make improvements. Let's don't redesign anything. It's designed well. It just needs upgrading in a lot of areas. So we'll recommend that level of upgrade, and we'll say, look, we can send you the parts, and we'll draw out a schematic of the crossover. It'll look something like one of these. This is one of the schematics of some of our speakers. Here's another one. Here's what you need to do. Go in and put this together. Here's how it goes together. Here are the parts. Go and upgrade your speakers. That would be what we call a level 2 mod. Level 3 mod would involve going in and redesigning something. That's usually something that we do when there's a lot of problems. We see stored energy breakup, woofers are ringing, there's a whole bunch of things that can be going on there, phase issues, where we go in and design a whole new network for something. And then again, there's some more options. I can send you the parts and send you a schematic of it and everything you need and say, okay, go put this together using this diagram and these parts, and here's going to be the improvement. Here's the measured response with that network on the speaker. Or we can do the whole thing in-house. I can go in and upgrade the entire thing, fully assemble everything for you and send it back to you. Just depends on how much money you want to spend, how far you want to take it. It's all about, is it worth it? I mean, a pair of speakers that are a $200 pair of speakers, you're not going to spend $500 or $600 doing an upgrade on it. It's just not worth it. I'm going to recommend that you do something else. So keep that stuff in mind. Keep in mind, can my speakers be upgraded? Yes, I guarantee you could make improvements to your speakers. If you want to send us something, that's fine. If you send us something big, there's going to be some handling charges because I'm having to handle something big. I'm having to set something up. I'm having to repackage it, rebox it, send it back to you. I'm going to charge you a handling fee for something big. But mini monitors, things like that, something I can just sit down in front of the measuring system and just start taking measurements. no problem. You know, I've always felt like that's something that is worth offering. It's something I learned years ago when I first started. I visited the Dunleavy facility. A buddy of mine brought me into his facility and said, "You got to meet John." John was so warm and welcoming. I mean, the guys at the door didn't even want to let me in because they knew what would happen. He would spend the whole day with me, having fun and talking speakers and listening to stuff, and that's exactly what happened. He measured and tested my samples that I was out demoing, did everything for free, gave me printout of everything. He spent the whole day with me. That was great. He was such a great individual, such a pioneer of our industry, and such a type of person that you look up to and think, wow, he gave so much back. It's worth it to give back. I want to give back. I want to be able to help the people that are out there with their projects, and that's what we do. You know, I try to pattern the whole business around helping people, and what comes around goes around. We usually get upgrade jobs and stuff from the free services that we offer. And if you just want to send it to us and get free services and we send it back to you, no problem. We'll do that for you too. Just give us a call and let us know if you have a need. That's all I got for you for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. This one was fun. I can't wait to get more into speaker upgrades. Throw me your questions. Can't wait to see what questions you have. We'll see you next week. Thanks.